Hey, welcome to the Pour Man. I'm Luke, your Pour Man for the day. And in this first series of videos, we're going to be setting out to make a better cup of joe for the average Joe. With coffee, as in everything in life, the simplest shifts usually yield the greatest results. So you don't need to perfect the brew method, you don't need to perfect an art, you don't need to roast your own coffee beans at home, and you do not need the most expensive contraption on the market. You need two things. One, a coffee grinder, and two, whole beans. In this episode, my deputy pour man, or woman, is Rory. Thinking back to when I first started to get into coffee as a poor college kid, the one thing I did differently is I started buying my coffee in whole beans. Why? Because it allowed me, and will allow you, to grind it yourself right before you brew. Freshly ground coffee will make the freshest cup of coffee. And the biggest thing to think about, that's the benefit, is that there's no price difference. You'll spend the same amount on a pound of ground coffee as you will whole beans.
Buy your coffee in whole beans.
When you finally get around to making the decision to buy your first grinder, there are a few things you need to take into account. The first thing is, do you want a blade grinder or do you want a burr grinder? Blade grinders do just that. They use a blade to chop up the whole coffee beans that make your grounds. Burr grinders use two plates that crunch up the beans, and both have their pros and cons. Your blade grinder is going to be a lot more inexpensive. This one retails for about roughly 20 bucks. The drawback is the blades don't give a consistent grind, which means you'll have chunks, medium and large chunks, in your coffee grounds that aren't contributing to your cup of coffee. Your burr grinder will be more consistent. That means more grounds will contribute to a better cup of coffee. So, if you want the burr grind but don't want to pony up for a burr grinder, an electric burr grinder, there's another option, the manual option. Now the manual option comes with pros and cons too. The biggest pro is that it's a lot quieter. It's a lot quieter, so you don't have to worry about waking anyone up in the morning. Another pro is that it is extremely portable. You can throw this in your luggage, really compact. You can camp with it, and brings me to my other point, it doesn't take any power. So if you are camping, backpacking, or if you have an RV, and again, you don't want to make a lot of noise in an RV, this might be a good option for you. Another thing that guys will like is that it's a lot less money. It's $10 to $15 cheaper than the electric burr grinder. Now here are the cons. It takes a long time. You can sit here and grind this for 3 minutes and it's all manual. You have to stop, check your grounds, did I get them all? It can take a while and it's tedious for someone who doesn't want to work for their cup of coffee. On top of that, it doesn't come with a hopper. Most electric burr grinders have this hopper that store an entire pound of beans. So you go to the store, buy your 6-pound bag of beans, throw it in there, don't have to think about it until it runs out, and then you buy your next pound. Let's see what they look like. All right, guys, so this simple shift should cost the average Joe about 26 bucks. The way I figure it's $6 for a decent pound of whole bean coffee and 20 bucks for a decent grinder. This shift will make the most noticeable change in your coffee cup, guaranteed. And join us next time for the next Pour Man when we look at the French press. We'll go into light roast and dark roast and that brew method, the French press.